Okay, we did have one individual asked to have something read for comments for the board meeting. This is from Ms. Jenna Gutierrez. She said, I am a parent to two special needs children, one going into K, one going into 8th. I hope there's an option for those who don't feel safe sending their child back to school to do full-time e-learning at home. I am also hoping that my children's special services like OT, speech, social work services can also be done at home through Zoom. We are a family of 7, which includes my mother who is elderly and immune compromised. Keeping my kids at home is the safest option for me. Thank you, Jenna Gutierrez. So thank you, Ms. Gutierrez, for submitting that to us. And I think some of those questions will be answered today as we roll through this. I did get other questions from people, but nobody that indicated they wanted them read aloud as public comment, just people inquiring as to different aspects of our return to school plan. So if there are no other questions for now, I will get into our presentation. So I'm going to share a different screen very quickly. Oh, that's not what I'm trying to do. Trying to. There, I think that will do it. Oh, hold on. There. I think we are finally there. Sorry about that. Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time during your day to get this special meeting up so that we can get some information out to the public. I didn't see the last participant. Now I see we're up to 455 participants. So to the members of our community and the members of our staff that have joined us, thank you for taking the time to tune in. And listen to us update the board on what our tentative plans are for returning to school for next school year. So just to back up, we did bring together a small planning team that had members of the MEEA, had members of the MESP, our Support Staff Association, had members of our administration, and the members of our Board of Education, 2 of which are parents in the district that have kids in our schools. And we sat down to take the first step of really trying to design this framework. As I go through our return to school framework, please understand that I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about the details about what's going to happen in very specific spaces or very specific moments of the day, like either transportation. That's not what the focus of our framework was. This was the big picture about when are kids going to be in school. And we still have a lot of people working hard, a lot of people, talking with stakeholders, and a lot of details to put forth about the little individual moments that are going to occur during our school days. With that, really, when the State Board of Education released their phase 4 guidelines for returning to school, they emphasized that they strongly encourage districts to create avenues for students to come back to school. While still honoring and adhering to social distancing guidelines. So our goals as we went through this was we maximize the time for in-person instruction. We want our kids to be in classrooms in front of the teachers and interacting with one another as much as they can. But we also have to develop and implement safety procedures to minimize the ongoing health risks for our students and our staff. That is just a paramount, piece that we want to bring kids back, but we have to do this safely and we have to do this smart. But we also realized that we needed to offer families a choice in how they wanted the educational delivery model to work for their family. To do that, we initially sent out a parent survey on June 23rd. And I have posted the results to board docs, and they will be on our website as well. So far we have over 1,900 responses that have come in, and of those responses, 43% of those respondents indicated that they would prefer full-time remote instruction if it was offered. When we broke that down between the grade levels, that was anywhere between 19 to 25% of every one of our grade levels when we looked at who indicated they had a second grade student and if they were interested in remote instruction. We aggregated all of that and broke it down. So there's a real desire in our community to have a remote learning option. So with that, our group got together, and while the goal of bringing all of our students back to our classrooms remains, it's clear that we have to have choices for our families. So really to get to the nuts and bolts, our return to school for 2020 and 2021, families will be able to choose between two options. The first is going to be in-person instruction using social distancing and safety protocols. And then we will also be offering a full-time remote instruction model that will use an online delivery model. For the in-person instruction, we have to emphasize completely that we must follow the safety protocols issued by the Illinois Department of Public Health and the Illinois State Board of Education. And that starts with face coverings and face masks. And I know this is a very, very political issue right now, but we are looking at it as this is a requirement for the people that are going to be in our buildings when school resumes. Face coverings will be required in our buildings at all times by students and staff when not eating or drinking. This includes when students, get on our buses. This includes when students are walking from the bus into the school. And this includes when students are using restrooms or using other common areas throughout our schools. Face coverings will be required. And this is, we understand that the science and the data out there indicate that children are less susceptible to the COVID-19 virus, as well as they may not even be as strong of transmitters. But students are not the only folks in our buildings. We still have our staff that are in there, working on behalf of the community and the families and the students. And so to protect everyone, face coverings will be required. In addition, parents must certify that the students are symptom-free when they attend school. We don't have final clarity on if this must be done every day, like via electronic or sending in some type of paper certification. We certainly hope it's not paper, but we are also working to have an electronic certification, and we are trying to find out legally if this can be a one-time sign-off or if this has to be a daily thing that parents have to do. But yes, they must certify that students are symptom-free, and we will have a whole checklist of the symptoms that the parents will be signing off on when they send their students to our school. Social distancing protocols will be implemented where possible. And I did link at the top of this slide that there will be people can read the State Board of Education and the Department of Public Health, their types of guidelines. But we also have to be realistic with our families and our communities that it is impossible to completely social distance within the public school system. Our classrooms were not designed to have desks 6 feet apart. If we were to go 6 feet apart, we think we could only fit about 12 to 15 kids in a classroom. So we will be asking staff to remove all non-essential furniture so that we can spread the desks out as much as they can. But other than that, we will do the best with the classrooms that we have. But it is likely that not everyone will be able to maintain a 6-foot distance when they are in the classrooms. Each day will be a 5-hour attendance day. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for 5 hours. Specific bell times are being developed. And this has the benefit of minimizing the amount of time that people have to stay in with the masks. It also it allows us to focus on the core instruction, and we also anticipate that for food service and lunch periods, because we cannot send students to a cafeteria, we cannot have more than 50 people in those spaces. Therefore, we expect that students are going to eat any type of lunch or food service. It will be in the classroom. And I know this is a piece of safety protocols that we're really going to have to work to get right, because the students will be taking off their masks to eat their meal and have their drink of water or whichever drink they have, and then put the mask back on. But they also need to be supervised in there, and so the regular plan and the planning time that our teachers would normally get will be moved to the end of the day. As they'll probably need to stay with the students in the classrooms for that food service. Yes, lunch has to be held in the smaller spaces, and likely that is going to be the classrooms. There are a lot of other details that I'm sure people could have questions about. I'm trying to focus on the big picture stuff for the purpose of this. So that is a quick snapshot, but yes, our schools will reopen for the 2020-21 school year with in-person instruction offered to anyone that chooses. However, we know that there are families that have indicated that they're not quite comfortable sending their students back into that environment. So that being, we will have a full-time remote instruction offered to any student and family that want it. This would be good for anyone that has underlying health conditions and or families that just don't feel comfortable sending their students back into the environment where we will not be able to maintain a 6-foot distance at all times. So remote instructors, these will be Minooka 201 teachers that will facilitate this remote instruction. There will be live interactive sessions throughout the courses. It will not be live online every day, like all day long. But there will be live sessions where they can interact with students. We are still fine-tuning exactly which courses and how the courses will be, but we can guarantee you that at least the core academic courses of math, ELA, science, and social studies will be fully offered remotely. We are working through the details of how we can get some of the specials or the exploratory or the rotation courses at the junior high involved in that. However, we are asking that if families do this, that they will commit for the full academic period, so at least the full quarter. Switching between the remote and in-person instruction during that academic period will not be allowed. And families must know that grading and accountability will mirror and mimic the traditional grading policies. It will not be the same of the fourth quarter where we did our best to give feedback. This will be real assignments, real grading. And it will count for full academic credit there. We also understand that there's going to be times as we go through the in-person instruction, we expect that at some point we might come across a student that becomes symptomatic and that we need to put them into like a quarantine type situation at home. We are working on how we would transition that student to remote instruction while they were at home quarantining. Those students would be able to come back to the in-person instruction after the quarantine period. But again, those details are still being worked out. So the next steps for us, like I said, our staff continues to work to develop the details on both the in-person instruction and the remote instruction. We will have more information in July. Probably we will have some more information out early next week so that parents can begin to make that decision between in-person instruction using the safety guidelines and the social distancing protocols within our schools, or if they were going to choose the full-time instruction. So that is the basic framework, and I know some board members have had some questions on some of the specifics or any of that. So I or any of our cabinet members that are joining us today we'll do our best to answer that. But at the end, we would ask you to give your approval to this framework so that we can start getting stuff out to our community.
I actually have a question. We have, so being that this is our first Zoom meeting and people are actually asking questions as they come through. So do we, like the academic period is what? Can you, quarter or semester?
Yeah, right now, it's still an internal debate. I'm thinking, personally, I think the quarter makes the most sense because, there are families that just come into different conditions and they could find out that remote instruction just was not working for them. So I think committing for the entire semester would be a little long for my own personal preference. But yeah, we will have a firm decision there by early next week. But at this time, it would be the first quarter.
Okay.
Are families able to say that, split their children? So say they have a child with specific needs and need to be home versus in person, or is it going to be a family decision? Oh,
it could be, they could split that. It's not a family decision. They could decide that, I want to keep one child at home for remote just because of their age level, or but then send the other one for the in-person instruction.
And it's, hold on a minute. This is all 5 days a week, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's our traditional school calendar.
Right.
We will
so
have one amendment to our school calendar, as they have made November 3rd, Election Day, a state holiday that we do not have the ability to waive. So I will be bringing the board an amended school calendar that, but we need to talk with some folks to figure out where we want to put that day that we need to make up.
Okay.
You want to address the bus issue? Because I see there's some question about busing.
Sure. Yeah, busing will run. We will have full busing running. The requirements with busing, with the guidelines, are we can have up to 50 students on the bus. They must be wearing a mask the entire time, and we will be spreading them out across the bus. So our transportation department is already working to identify those areas where we've traditionally had more than 50 students on the bus. Trying to spread that out. But the first step is finding out how many of our students plan to return full time and how many intend to go remote instruction. And then they can figure out where we need to potentially add buses.
And the hours are still going to be the same, correct? So like MIS was what, 7:35 to whatever the 5-hour day would be?
Yeah. Right now we are intending for that same 5-hour schedule to go. We obviously, everything is fluid, and I think a couple of board members even sent me comments that we want to make sure that everyone understands that this is very fluid and these plans are subject to change. And honestly, this is our phase 4 plan. If Illinois gets put back into phase 3, we will be full-time remote instruction. If we ever, move into the phase 5, the full reopening, clearly we'll be, pushing to go much more, bring everyone back in for full-time instruction. But yes, the only thing that might make us adjust the bell times would be if we run into that transportation issue where we just need more time to get between the buildings with the cap of 50 per bus. But I would anticipate that affecting the elementaries, possibly pushing them back just slightly rather than the campus.
What about, you want to explain fine arts, PE, how that's going to work? Because there are some questions coming across about that as well.
Sure. And again, these are some of the details that are not final yet. I can tell you what our current thinking is on fine arts, but really the goal, especially at the elementaries, is to limit the amount of time that the kids are moving throughout the building. To where we anticipate the fine arts rotations would be pushing into the classroom rather than the students going to a different location and moving throughout the building. That's pretty easy to envision for the music, for the media class. Art, without going to the art room where they have those, the art materials, that's going to be a little different. So we're still letting our staff collaborate on how that will look. The same goes for PE. Obviously the whole purpose of the physical education is designed to have kids moving, to teach them about wellness, teach them about physical fitness, teach them about activities, and have them experience that. And so we do not have final answers on how PE is going to look. It could be a mix of, again, the teachers either going into the classroom or Zooming into the classroom, and having the kids try to engage in some type of conversations and activities in that classroom. Or it could be getting the kids outside to where there's a little bit more freedom of movement in all of that.
Chris, I got
Yes.
we're having many questions coming across on the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
And so how are we going to handle those so that they get answered and can be seen by everybody that also has those same questions?
The questions are going up almost as quickly as the participants did at the beginning of the meeting. Again, I don't think we will have the time to, we will answer every question live on this meeting, but we will take this list of questions and answer each one of those and get that on our website at the same link that this meeting will be on.
Okay.
So when you're so I assume we're sending something out to parents indicating the two choices. My opinion is that needs to be done sooner rather than later, because I think we're already behind the 8 ball in terms of how many children are actually going to be in the classroom or in the schools versus how many are going to be home, and then assigning teachers wherever they need to be. Either they're going to do remote learning or in-person learning. So how soon will this, I guess,
Honestly,
question
yesterday
or-
there was we had a we were actually working with the principals. Were all together, and we were putting together a quick snapshot of the comparisons between remote instruction and in-person instruction. We all agreed we were going to let that sit for a couple days to make sure that we didn't come up with other things that needed to be included. But right now we're envisioning releasing that out to families on Monday, so that they, the next week and a half, that they can. We're also finalizing the manner in which they make that decision, so that we're thinking that we're working to where it comes to like they log into Power School and there's a selection for them to make. But yes, we're looking to get that out very quickly.
And then what is your time? I mean, how many days are you going to?
We would ask them to make a decision within a week. Like hopefully by the end of July is really the end game. We'd like to know which way they're going to go, so that we can start to plan out the rest of these schedules.
So there's no way to get that done before Monday, to get this information out, so that, I guess I'm just thinking we need to get the information sooner rather than later, so that, again, our principals can plan on classrooms, teachers know what to do and where they're going to be.
We're very close. We've got this. It's changing every day a little bit is the thing. So we just decided we were going to, hold on for a day or so to make sure no one came up with other scenarios that needed to be included there. But yes, we're very close to releasing that, and it will be out either later this week or the very beginning of next week.
Chris, do we, does this coincide with the high school and maybe Shanahan and Troy too?
Yeah, I don't want to, I'm aware of what those districts are intending to do, but they need to have that conversation with their community. I know Shanahan did, they had a board meeting last week where they, I believe they are doing something very similar to this. I believe it's also some type of early release day for their students with an online option. And I don't believe the high school or Troy has announced exactly what they'll be doing there.
Do we have any information on MPC?
Yeah, we do. And actually, that was yesterday. Mrs. Miller was sharing like a tentative thought. They are still going to intend to run 2 sessions a day with a good 2-hour break or in between to allow for the sanitizing of their surfaces. I think I saw it was going to be around like 8:30 to 10:30, and then like 12:30 to 2:30 or something like that. But yes, it's MPC is intending a full return and still offering their AM and PM options. To all the people that are watching along, I see all the questions that are coming in. It's impossible to try to try to respond to them in real time. So know that yes, we are working on the protocols for when someone is diagnosed, which areas of the school have to be shut down, which areas of or like which students have to go into a quarantine. There will be protocols. There will be times that students are told that they need to stay home. There's a real high level of complexity that goes into all of that. So, please understand, we will have that information for you. It's just a really complex issue to try to address, at this meeting. I see other questions rolling in. Temperature checks are not mandated. That is the self-certification. That in lieu of temperature checks, parents will be self-certifying that their children are symptom-free. We reserve the right to check the temperature of anyone that is, seems to be symptomatic. So So yes, we will be reserving the right to do that, but it is not practical for us to check every temperature, especially before they get on a bus. I see more stuff coming in on the face masks versus face shield. I know that the nation is having the debate over face masks right now. As of now, everyone in our buildings would be required to wear the mask. Face shields would be allowed with certain medical certifications, for students that are physically not able to remove a mask, would also have an exception to the mask requirement. But we will have plenty of information coming out to parents on the specifics of the face coverings versus face shields. The Department of Public Health did come out and say that face shields are not a real effective deterrent for the spread of this virus. However, it was not a prohibition on face shields, or it is just some type of acknowledgement that they really weren't effective. So
I kind of want to echo what Vicki said. I think it's really important for our families. I see a ton of comments here, and I've heard a lot of feedback that our families need as much information as possible, as quickly as possible. I understand we need to know numbers to make some of the fine details, but if we could get this information to parents this week, that gives them time to line things up before the deadline and make their decision. I just think that, the faster the better we can get these to our families.
Sure.
Would be beneficial for everybody.
Can I go back to the lunches in the classroom?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you can't have any more than 50 in an area, but I guess I know
there's no right answer.
Okay.
I agree with
can we use, if possible, use part of the lunchroom? It'll be an open area. And if we're not going to be using, depending on what we do with PE, even using our gyms, putting in tables or whatever.
The goal is to not have the kids moving throughout the building as well. It's really to try to restrict the movement and all of the students, going to the same common spaces. Lunches at our elementary level is one of the trickiest, pieces of this, just because, yes, students are going to have to take off the mask to eat and to digest the meal and drinks. They are in that classroom with other individuals, and it is impossible for them all to be, 6 feet apart. So again, right now, this is our plan, but we are committed to still working with staff to try to create the best plan that it can be.
I think I heard you trying to sneak in here. Andy, did you try to say something?
No, Vicki got me on the deadline there on
Okay.
how soon we were going to do that.
I have another question. All right, I know you're not supposed to have any more than 50 in an area, but because of our overcrowding at the junior high and the intermediate building, depending on, how many parents pick remote versus in school, is there a possibility that there might be, larger class sizes of 30 or more? And then I don't know how that's, I know we can't do it in a regular size classroom with 25 kids. Is there a possibility that there could be even higher numbers per classroom?
I see that as unlikely, but honestly, we won't know until we see all of the numbers come in clearly. But first to answer that question, I don't think we are allowed to have more than 50 people in a specific space. We see that as kind of one of the mandates that's come down to us right now. But with class sizes at our junior high and MIS, there were not, some of the core classes did have class sizes of higher than 30. If we get 20% of our students that are choosing to go remote, then clearly that's going to drop down our class sizes. But I can tell you the junior high is going to do everything they can to spread class sizes out as much as possible.
And when you're able to get this information out, we also will be able to tell the people that have the special needs, like the IEPs and 504s as well, right? Because I know that we have a lot of students, like what are we going to do with those students?
Yeah, I mean, first of all services that students are entitled to will be offered, throughout the school year. And that includes for both students choosing remote instruction as well as in-person instruction. Yes, we will be offering the special education minutes, the English language learners and bilingual services, as well as speech pathology, psychologist, social work minutes. All of that, the students will get everything that they are traditionally entitled to in both in-person and remote instruction. It could clearly look different. We are trying to again limit the amount of times that students are moving throughout the building. So some of these could end up to be push-ins rather than pull-outs. But honestly, I don't think we are far enough along to know exactly how RTI or the academic interventions or any of those services are truly going to look. But they will be offered, they will be delivered. We just don't have the details as to exactly how it's going to look yet.
Because again, you need those numbers, correct?
Yes.
Chris, I have two questions. Do we still have a tentative start date in August like the calendar said?
Yes, the calendar has not the calendar has not changed. As I said earlier, we will have to do a minor amendment about that state election holiday. But no, we are still intending to start school on, I believe it's August 19th. I don't have the calendar right in front of me.
Okay.
So
Second one is, I know some parents are probably concerned about sports, cross country, the fall sports.
Sure. Yeah, baseball and softball would be having tryouts very soon, I know. So I can tell you that we've been waiting for any type of guidance to come from the Illinois Elementary School Association, which all of our athletic teams, follow the IESA calendar. Right now they really haven't put much out. IHSA, the high school, they have put out some guidance, and then they changed the guidance, and then I think I just read this morning that they've put out another statement. So we expect to hear something from IESA very soon. Right now, we are assuming that our extracurricular activities will be able to engage and compete in contests, so long as the health guidelines are being maintained. So the gatherings of less than 50. Maintaining social distancing when able, and I think right now there's no real contact. So luckily, our first fall sports, it's not the heavy contact like basketball, wrestling, something like that. These are more sports that you can engage in distancing. The first season that comes across us, but yes, we are hoping that our extracurricular activities will be able to run. We do not know exactly what it's going to look like yet.
Okay.
We talked yesterday, you and I, about surveying our teachers. Has that been completed?
Yep,
and
that'll
sent
be going out either later today or tomorrow to really find out. Now that we have a framework, what are the kind of the pressure points, and what are the safety issues that we need to address in the building for everyone to feel safe and comfortable. So,
And this is going to all staff? Oh, sorry. This is going to all staff?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And have we talked about a deadline or idea of when we want parents to have responded to their option?
Ideally, when I've talked with our administrative team, I've always had by the end of July.
Too late.
To continue to allow our schools to plan. If we get this out this week, we might ask for an even slightly faster turnaround. But it's a big decision for parents, so I don't want to press too hard. But yes, our schools do need that information to.
I was going to say, I don't think they can even fully construct their plans without numbers, though. I think that's given them
we're in a the chicken or the egg type scenario, that in order to truly get good plans, we need numbers, but in order for the numbers, the parents need to have a good idea of the plan. So it's a slight catch-22. So that's why I said we worked on trying to get a good snapshot with the basic outline. Of what these days are going to look like, so that parents can make an informed decision.
So I mean, realistically here, if we could get this out by tomorrow or Friday at the latest, if we try to do it yet this week, is not a 7-day turnaround. So by next Friday or Thursday, I mean, they know the plan now. They'll have a week to discuss it if we get it out. Then
Yeah, I mean,
maybe by the end of the week.
Comfortable with me giving a 1 week, timeline to families. That only helps our people more.
Well, absolutely. I think, we need, and parents, and I'm sure parents are as concerned about knowing what the numbers are going to be and how it's going to look as well. And it'll help our administrators, again, know what to plan for.
I think we have to trust that the administration is going to work on doing the best they can for this, and whatever that works out to be, this is what it's going to be, because you can only do so much at a certain length of time, and you can only get the results back and work with the results that you get back. So I think we're going to have to trust our administration to do the best they can on getting that out and back out again.
And I will say it's not just our administration. There are already staff that are coming in to collaborate with our principals, and the various departments have been working with their supervisor, their administration, to help start to get some guidelines, procedures in place. Like I know our health services, our nursing staff have been collaborating all summer. This is going to be messy. I mean, as I think everyone that I've talked to in person, I think we all understand that, that this is a framework, this is a plan. We could very well get going in the fall, and we will have some issues at a building that might cause us to go back, into remote learning. So this is going to be fluid, and we could go, back and forth between phases as our society continues to deal with this.
I want to personally thank Al, Kim, and Emily for volunteering to be on that task force and representing the board there. And I know you got some subcommittees coming up that are also open to board members participating in with the staff and the community. So if you are interested in doing those, please contact the administration to let them know that you're interested in those opportunities.
So what are the
Chris,
questions can I answer for the board?
Chris, Andy, real quick. Just, I do agree with Vicki and Emily about the sooner the better, getting this out and getting it back. Parents have had a long time to think about it, and now you got the two options. The one thing that keeps coming up, I understand a bunch of the specifics can't be worked out until the numbers are there, but do you have like a protocol if a student or teacher is exposed or tests positive? What happens then? Is there any guidance from the state on that?
So yeah, if you read and I think I've sent this to the board already, but you can find on the state board website, and it's also linked to this presentation, that if someone is diagnosed with COVID-19, they clearly are quarantined for, at one point I think I read 10 days, but I've always thought it was 14. So so they are quarantined for 14 days. Also, what we've read, the most recent guidance I've seen is anyone that was within a 6-foot vicinity of that person for more than 15 minutes are also asked to quarantine. And so at this point, we have not seen that we have to send home the entire classroom. Is my audio cutting out because I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize for that, but Yeah, but again, sorry for the audio here. I'm not quite sure what is happening. But again, sorry for the audio here. I'm not quite sure what is happening. Trying to see if pausing will allow the audio to come back.
I'd like to, whatever motion that is we need to get in, I'd like to get that in so that we can, at some point, if we have to drop out, we have at least accomplished that. So what is the motion that you're looking to have?
The motion here would be for the board to make a motion to approve our return to school framework. There are, again, tons of details still to be, finalized and communicated out to everybody. And the comments from parents that are coming in, the questions, again, we apologize. It's impossible for us to answer all of them here, but we will go through this chat list. Mr. Souza, I believe you're on the webinar. If you can find a way to copy all of these so that we can make sure that we are addressing these in an FAQ document, I would appreciate that. But for the board, it would be a motion to approve the return to school framework.
Well, if you're looking for a motion, Mr. President, I would like to make that motion that we approve the framework as presented to us this morning.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote.
Ms. Lori, are you there?
You're muted, Lori.
Was that Jim that just said
Okay.
that?
Mr. Skorzynski,
Aye.
Mr. Karczewski,
Aye.
Mrs. Allen,
Aye.
Mrs. Conquest, Mrs. Conquest,
Emily?
Emily?
I'm frozen.
Mrs. Conquest,
Aye.
Mrs. Fisher,
Aye.
Mr. Sartorius.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
So now, if I'm correct, Dr. Ma, now is when you're going to break down and get with the teachers, correct? And really dissect this. So
Yes,
there's
I've
more.
already asked the principals to and our supervisors to invite their staff in, to collaborate on how all of this is going to work in their building. Again, the teachers union and the support staff union had a seat at our table when we put together this framework. But now I even saw one of the comments up there. It's going to take a village for this. It's all hands on deck, and the more voices that come in and give us their opinions, the better. So, yep, we're going to like Vicki brought up earlier, we're going to send out a staff survey within the next day and a half, and find out where the biggest concerns are and get their suggestions on how to make this work even better. The principals should be reaching out to their parent communities for suggestions and feedback on how it's going to look in their specific building. And we're going to continue to roll forward, and I will work to get the communication out to families about this return to school framework and the kind of comparison between remote instruction and in-person instruction so that they can start to make their decision.
Is there going to be a document or some kind of communication, like kind of the what ifs? So that
we have
parents and teachers and staff are all going to know, okay, so if a child has a temperature, this is what's going to happen. If a child is exposed, this is, so that all the schools in the district are going to be following some of those same basic protocols.
Two documents that are currently underway. One, the one I was talking about yesterday, was the quick snapshot comparison, so that that just really compares what in-person versus remote does.
Right.
The other, we have a longer one that's probably going to be many pages long, that's going to get into a lot more of the details. There's going to be a section on academics, but there's also going to be a section on when protocols when someone is diagnosed or shows some type of symptoms. This is what's going to happen. These are the steps our health staff and our school staff are going to take. Yes, we are going to have that. It's going to take some time to have that completely ready because a lot of those details are still being worked out.
Okay, and we had touched on this yesterday when we talked about subs. I don't know if
actually,
now's the time to share what
Emily
you're.
asked me a question about that as well.
My
So
next
if
one.
the board recalls, we were going down the path of having permanent subs, like one permanent sub in each of our buildings. We are probably going to recommend actually increasing that to 2 at each of our buildings, because honestly, substitutes as an educational field, we expect that it's going to become even more difficult to find substitutes to come into our buildings, which is another reason it's going to be all hands on deck. We are going to need, every available sub. We are going to need, some of our staff members that have teaching certificates are probably going to be used as substitutes on many occasions. But we are going to really try to have 2 permanent subs in every one of our buildings. So they will be reporting to that school every day. They'll be a part of that school's bubble, for lack of a better term. I have no doubt we will be able to utilize them throughout the school year.
So let me just throw this out. If we do have 2 subs per building, but let's say MIS needs an extra person or 2 for a given period of time. I know you mentioned there would be in that bubble, but would it be possible that maybe one of those permanent subs might go from one building to another if needed?
Sure.
Or are you gonna? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to utilize staff as best we could. So if for whatever reason that building didn't need an extra sub, we would be able to ask that person to report to a different school.
Chris, do you have a target date for the small subgroups to start meeting?
Hopefully I didn't check in with everybody yesterday, but I hope that the buildings are already well underway working on their plans. So that should be underway already.
All right.
And is that going to be shared out with the board, so we know?
I already sent something to the entire staff, letting them know, like to look for information from their buildings and who the district leads were on the various aspects of operations or health and wellness or student support. So,
Well, I think probably getting the information about how many students are actually going to be coming and or not coming is going to facilitate a lot of that planning as well.
sure.
So again, the sooner rather than later.
Other questions from the board? Well then, board members, I believe that you could take a motion to adjourn. To all the parents and the attendees that are watching this, we will respond to these questions. Please email me questions. For the past 24 hours, a lot have come in. So we will respond. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn. Oh. I'll motion to adjourn.
Will you get a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time, everyone. And we will be communicating often and with more detail. Thank you.